friends, welcome back to Great People Interview Series. Today, we're going to discuss about leadership. But, it's a very different angle to the leadership. So, we have the specialist here, Guy Kioni. Welcome to Great People Interview Series.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. So, just to start with, um, tell us a little bit about your journey and, you know, how you reached this point in your life. And by the way, friends, he is the founder and owner of the firm called MISSANG, which is a Westminster based geo-strategic advisory and management consultancy firm. Uh, he works with governments, public and private sector institutions, especially in the domain of resilience, transformation, and long term strategic change. So that's what he does, and and that's why I was saying that he's a specialist when it comes to leadership. He has been advising, he's been helping leadership deliver the best they could. So let's hear it from him, and let's start with his journey.
Yes, no, thank you very much. So my journey started from the DRC. I'm originally from the DRC, Republic Democratic of Congo. I fled the war, a war that is still going on now. So I fled the war and I reached the UK around 2000, 2001 as a refugee at the time. And that journey alone required a lot of resilience, to absorb the shock, leaving family behind, friends, getting to a country where you don't really know the language. Fast forward a couple of years, I managed to get myself an education at the Montfort University, where I managed to get a first class degree in business information systems.
Wow.
And that really opened up my eyes in a way information technology could actually impact or was actually impacting the business environment, but also the people. And that's where I spotted the gap because ultimately business is about people. People run business, customers
Yeah.
are businesses. Um, Yet those customers and those business are not immune to
Yeah.
change, are not immune to stress. And therefore, the resilience that I managed to build in my journey, I decided to convey that into the business sector. So
Wow.
after my first job in 2008, I decided to set up a company to start advising businesses, and then from one thing leading to the other, uh, I increasingly supporting bigger organizations, not only within the UK but also across Africa.
Wow. Fantastic. That's really amazing. So, from 2000, 2001 to 2008, you've been building yourself, educating yourself, completed your degree. And again, with all that shock that you had, you kind of negated all that and, worked your way to a point where you started advising people, which is phenomenal. Um, so from there onwards, so what kind of advising you have been doing?
It's a very interesting question. So the advice we've been doing started off really from adopting technology. Leaders in organizations such as one of our biggest customer are public organizations such as the NHS. And regardless of the NHS organization we were working with, adoption of technology was a little bit tricky, simply because NHS is known to have legacy system, and adopting new technology becomes obviously an issue because you can make the wrong choice or taking the wrong approach, and then you had to face the resistance to change. So adoption of technology is also making sure that your customers are traveling the journey with you in adopting the same technology. So we're advising on how to embed change management within the organization to make sure that not only a new system is in place, but a new ways of working, and that the actual users are traveling with you. So we did a lot of change management to help NHS organization in that journey.
Well, that brings us to today's topic, which is personal resistance as a leadership advantage. Can you just express your views on this first?
To me, resilience, for instance, is a leadership advantage in a sense that, well, let's define what resilience is. Resilience is
Yeah.
the ability to absorb shocks and to continue to function without losing your purpose, your vision, the trust of of yourself, of your customers, and of your peer. And in today's world, the shock comes from many different angles. You got the economy, you've got the AI now,
Yeah.
changing the economy, changing the way we work and live even. So all of those shocks needs to be absorbed. That's one. And therefore, one needs the space, what I call the white space, to keep your purpose in check, but also to look after yourself to be able to make the right decision with the clarity of purpose. And you cannot do that if you keep firefighting. And today's world is fast paced. So one has to slow down to be able to really look at the situation from afar and make the right decisions.
Wow, that's really crucial for every business to adopt this resilience, and then obviously you can sail through any challenging situations. And so you have been advising so many businesses.
Mhm.
NHS is obviously a very big name, but regardless of smaller size or bigger size, I think they will have challenges. So,
Mhm.
is there any example of, how there was an exam in an organization with a challenge, and then having done what you advised them to do, how they could survive that challenge or solve the problem?
Yes, I've
Um,
got many, I've got many examples, and funny enough, well, let me describe the challenge first. One of the challenge with advising customers, especially in large transformational program, is the misalignment of objective, misalignment of pace, misalignment of perceived benefits, and so forth. So you need to get the whole organization moving to the right direction. At the same time, people are not always aligned, and that's one of the biggest challenge, because whilst you may have a target, a timeline, you need to make sure that everybody moves to that direction. So a lot of stakeholders engagement is needed. And one of the way we use to tackle that is to make sure that we have steering group workshop with all of the stakeholders in it to understand what risk are from each parties affected by the change, and therefore that allows us to mitigate the risk with everybody being on board. And that is seen within organization, but I'm also seeing that right now because I'm working on a project whereby we're working between the UK and African countries. So even at state level is even more the issues is more compounded, if that makes
yeah,
sense. Yes.
yeah, absolutely. Because I think, there could be um, personal challenges why they couldn't probably adopt the change, which is sometimes not clear. So when you are having these workshops and all that,
Mm.
everybody says, "Wow, this is amazing," and all that. But then you realize, well, still, um, after the workshop, the verdict of the customer is that, you know what, we actually don't want to implement this change, or we want to partially implement this change. And you go wondering, well, and I observed this as well.
Yes.
You had a room full of people, everybody agrees, everybody likes what you have presented, and then, next week when customer comes back, this says, well, actually we would like to make some amendments and improvements to what you're suggesting. And we go, why? Yeah, everybody was happy. But then there are so the unstated problems that we never were told. Then how do you solve those problems of your customers?
Yes, I call what you described the status quo factor. Status quo provides a sense of peace,
Yeah.
Organization may be locked in, I'd say inefficient practices, for instance. But they've been working with that inefficient practices for years, and
Yeah.
therefore it's a place of safety for them. By the
Yeah.
time you start introducing new processes, new protocol, or new systems, clearly
Yeah.
the way people have to work will have to change. They will have to learn new systems. Some jobs may have to change. So change, although is inevitable, change is opening the door to a world that is unknown. And the unknown, mostly, people are afraid of it.
Yeah.
And that's why we reassure the different stakeholders, one, by making them see the vision as to why we're changing. By the time people understand the why, you then give them the training that is needed. To say, look, this is why we're doing it. You actually understand the benefit for you as a department, for you as an individual, and for the organization at large. Once people understand the why, you then give the backup with the training. And the training could be on information technology, on processes, but also on redefining one's role. But with every change, some lose and some gain. So you're always going to have unhappy people. But maybe to conclude this point, change is a journey. At the beginning, people are really excited. Then when the change kicks in, they're frustrated, but then they always back up because ultimately the human being can adapt to situations.
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember some of the councils we worked with within the UK, and when they had to upgrade their call centers, and they had to adopt the digital way of working. Things were much smarter, but then obviously the smart things came with its complexity to a
Mm.
degree. So they wanted everything to be simplified to the same level as before, but they wanted all the advantage of the new technology. So in their call centers, when they're taking citizens calls, they have some simple buttons to flag that call. Right now, with this new highly scalable and flexible system that we were providing, that wasn't even required. That
Mm.
automatic, but still they insisted, oh, on your software, can we have these buttons? So, but I think sometimes to get them on board, give them that comfort feel, we actually reprogrammed the agent software and added those buttons so they feel, right. So this is same as before. And in a few months' time, the same users said, this is unnecessarily taking my desk space, my screen space. Can you remove these buttons? Because we no longer need these because the new system does it, right?
Mm.
So,
Mm.
uh, and we said, yeah, of course, that's a good point. But we knew that all along.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
it's just how you try to understand your customer psychology. Give them the time to adopt or
Yes, I mean,
in your words, absorb that shock, right?
yes.
And yeah,
Yes, yes. You have to get customers to adapt. Otherwise, if they decide not to use it, your project fails. So you have to make sure that you take them on board. But as we said earlier, you might not be able to get everyone on board. But as long as you've got the majority, you should be able to get the outcome that one is looking for.
absolutely. Well, now we're talking about personal resistance. A leader should have that quality, should adopt this resilience. But how does it affect the team performance? Does it affect team performance?
Oh, yes, for sure, for sure. Um, I'd say, when we talk about resilience, a lot of people, are spoken with, are saying, okay, are we in time of crisis? How do we, come out with the resilience we need? And I keep saying, actually, resilience is something that you prepare for. You prepare for before the crisis hits. And in life, as a human being, you build resilience with life experience. As an organization, however, resilience needs to be embedded in a way the actual structure of the organization is set up. Because then, if you concentrate your resilience to, let's say, to a leader, and the leader is not resilient enough or is panicking in terms of crisis, the whole team will also panic. You know, you got the CEO panicking, the employee will lose purpose and they'll lose focus, and then they start firefighting. However, when a leader in time of crisis, like COVID, like, you know, there are many crises, still set the pace, acknowledge the crisis, acknowledge the vulnerability,
Yeah.
however, set the direction. Everybody pulls in. And what more often than not, performance increases when the leader is resilient. So to me, yes, it does affect performance, but however, that needs to be managed in a way that performance is lifted up rather than reduced.
Wow. Well, with your knowledge and experience of, advising organizations for so many years, um, you have helped lots of leaders, lots of organizations through their transformation and change implementation. Uh, what's the big goal? What's your ultimate goal?
My ultimate goal is to have an impact, is to have an impact on the world that affects millions of people. I've been fortunate enough to work with the public sector in the healthcare. The work that we do affects lives.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate enough to work on the critical mineral sector, and that affects the whole economy. And my goal is to really impact and leave a mark in this world, but also inspire the younger generation. And I may use this opportunity to say one thing. Um, you know, someone asked me a question that left me thinking, and I'd like to ask the question to entrepreneurs as well. He says, okay, you know, what's your goal business wise? I said, okay, I want to reach X amount of million by, you know, the next 5 years and so forth. And he says, who's coaching you? I'm like, I don't have a coach. But he says, but the highest performance, the highest sports star or the high performance business leaders, all of them, literally all of them, have coaches and mentors. And entrepreneur, what people call self-made men, are trying to make it on their own. But without a mentor, without a coach, it's nearly impossible. So who is your mentor and who's your coach?
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. I think let me grab that question of yours as my next question. What's your business goal? Of course, I'm not going to go in that direction, but I actually meant, now that I know your ultimate goal, let's bring it down, business wise. Where do you see Missang, from here onwards?
That's a very good question. We have two main streams. The first one is digital transformation within the public sector. As of this year, we managed to be on the government framework, which allows us to bid for government projects.
Wow.
So we want to be one of the de facto management consultancy firm within the UK. On the other side, we provide geostrategic advisory firm on critical minerals and want to be a de facto firm when it comes to understanding Africa and transacting in critical minerals.
To grow, listen, to whatever levels, and we're not discussing necessarily the revenue numbers here,
Mm.
but whatever that number could be, as part of your growth strategy, what are the challenges that you see with your business, um, which could potentially, I'm sure you would have analyzed this, and so what are those challenges which might, you know you have to overcome? I'm not saying might hold you back, because I know you now that nothing can hold you back because you're a resilient person. So what are those challenges that you will have to overcome to reach your goal?
I believe it's the rapid change of the economy due to AI. Though we are in the knowledge economy, and AI is moving at such a pace that, keeping track of that it's challenging, and it could affect the business model. So we might have to adapt. So when you look like at firms such as McKinsey or Deloitte or PwC's, they're laying off a lot of their consultants. So the management consultancy business is really disrupted by AI. So we are in the process of adapting our model, and that's the challenge we're navigating now. But I'm sure we'll find a way to come out strong. This year we managed to increase our revenue times five, so we believe we can still do it.
Fantastic. This I'm sure you'll find a way to beat this, because I think although AI is a lot talked about, I think people have worked out strategies how to in fact increase business using AI rather than trying to compete with AI. And I have many friends and colleagues, especially the one I spoke in Great People Interview Series just last week from
Mm,
they have really embraced AI as their strength,
yes,
from what they were 2 years ago. So I think, I'm sure you will sail through that. But any specific advice that you want to give to the entrepreneurs? Well, in addition to the striking statement that you made, which is, who is your coach? Who is your mentor? Other than
yes,
that, any advices?
yes. It's going to be, well, two advice. The first one is the ability to spot learning opportunities. And by that, I mean, sometime one may have to work, I'd say, for free, as long as you're learning something that you can then leverage for your own business. And I've done that on many occasions. And that was tremendous. Nowadays, there's an appetite, to make money now, to get paid now, especially as an entrepreneur. But if you spot a learning opportunity, never give that up. So that's one. Two, life in general is a lifelong opportunities, and an entrepreneur needs to read a lot first, but really to keep some time aside to really think and learn and apply that learning. Without learning, entrepreneur fails.
Fantastic. Well, that was a lovely conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed this discussion, and
Likewise.
sure audience is going to find this very, very insightful. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed the chat as well. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye.